kaha. They cannot come in text or in speech just on their own. So akuha visarjaniya, a, ka varga, ha, and visarga. Akuha visarjaniyanam kantha means you pronounce them with the major part that is active while saying them is the throat. And then this cha cha ja jhanya. So it says ichu yashanam talu. I cha varga ya sh. You use talu. Talu means you have to touch your tongue to the back of the upper palate. Without that you cannot pronounce this. Rutu rashana murdha. So ka cha, the tongue has to touch a little ahead of it. Cha, ta, the tongue has to touch still little more ahead. It has to touch to your murdha. So to pronounce ka, kha, 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 it is kantha. You can experiment it for yourself. If you pronounce, you will know. Your tongue has to touch here, tongue has to touch a little forward. Ritu lasanam dantaha. So ka, this you can't pronounce this without touching your tongue to your teeth. Not possible. You can't pronounce pa, fa, ba, ba, ma without touching your lips together. Lips are required for pronouncing pa, fa, ba, ba. So you are coming from the back of the mouth to the front of the mouth. This ka, cha, ta, 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 ba. This is how it has to be done. So you are coming from back to front. This arrangement is not random. It is very well thought out. Now, this issue of the properties repeating every column. After some period, so you have a kanthavya varna, then you go down, you come back again, you have a kanthavya varna. So elements in the varnas in the same row have one common property. If you look at columns, see, column wise if you look at this. So this Prathama Dvitiya, first two. These are called as Karkasha Vyanjanas. Karkasha Vyanjanas means the tongue that you need to press on your talu or murda or whatever, you have to press it a little harder. Here if you want to pronounce ga and gha, the tongue has to be pressed a little softer. There is a difference. If you carefully observe, there is a difference. Right? So these are called, and for these it has to be pressed a little softer. So these are called Karkasha Vyanjanas. These are called as Mrudu Vyanjanas. And if you again, there is another classification which says Prathama, Tritiya, Panchama Varna. So first, third, fifth. These are called as Alpa Prana Vyanjanas. Second and fourth are called as Mahaprana Vyanjanas. So if you look at, again if you think about it, pronouncing it, these three, the force that you have to apply from your chest. So prana means, has various meanings in Sanskrit, one of them is breath. The breath force that you need to pronounce this k, g and ng is less as compared to k and g. So not exactly, but a lot of Sanskrit experts, they say that you should feel, unless you feel a slight pain in the chest while pronouncing k and g, you are not pronouncing them correctly. So there is a classification. So Alpa Prana, Mahaprana, Alpa Prana, Mahaprana, Alpa Prana. Right? So then again, if you look at the Varnamala,
is it not when was the earliest this arrangement was like known? Or when was it the earliest time?
Arrangement has been known, we don't know since when.
There is no historical record of.
At least I don't know. We have to, that would be a different branch of research, I don't know. But we can, I hope no one will dispute what I am saying. You have to pronounce it and see. That's how it works. The elements are also arranged in such a two-dimensional matrix. The Uchcharan sthan of every row is same. Then this is Mahapran, this is Alpa Pran, Karkasha, Mahapran, Karkasha. This is Mrudu, Alpa Pran, this is, and the last one cannot be pronounced. This column cannot be pronounced if you close your nose. When you close your nose, you cannot pronounce these. No, no, no. So these are called as Anunasika Varnas. Anu in Sanskrit terminology. Ashtadhyayi has these sutras, Maheshwara Sutras. Now what are...
Since you said the discussion ended there,
I mean,
he did not use Eka every day. He used Dvi and Tri also. So what did he
so it's like there are some reference elements. The idea of the periodic table from the Varnamala, of arranging the elements. Now how they combine is a different issue to form compounds. But so that discussion was just to intrigue and to see that, to appreciate the basic structure of the alphabet. It's not random, it's very well thought out and arranged in a different way. That's all. Why it is done is A, E, U and N, it has a halant. K has a halant. These have a halant. So if I want to say that I want the set of all the Karkasha Vyanjana. So then I will say Kh to R. Khar. Khar is the set of all the Karkasha Vyanjanas. If I said I want the set of all Mridu Vyanjanas, I will say if I say I want a set of all the Varnas in the third column, the Alpa Prana Mridu Vyanjana, I will say Jash. J, B, G, D, D. Jash. Mahaprana Mridu Vyanjanas. So you can form any, I want the set of only Anunasika Vyanjanas. Nyam, Nyama, Ganana. Any kind of combination with a set of any common properties can be taken. So it's a very, very ingenious, very geniusly done job.
July is 2500 years.
Yeah, it's now dating also is a very debatable subject. Many people date Maharishi Panini to 500 BC. Some people date him to even we don't know. So that we are not getting into that here. But this is done. Why is it done like this? Is because now when words morph in shlokas, the explanation is given using these. So let us say if Maharishi Panini wants to say that if you have a Mridu Vyanjan following a swar, then this has to be done. So in that sutra he will say if you have a hush following a ach, this has to be done. Ach, a to ch are all swaras. Ach. So if you have studied Sanskrit, you must have heard of something called as an Ajanta Pratipadikam.
If you don't know the classification of Varnamala, you cannot start reading the book.
No. Yes. So Ach, Ajanta Pratipadikam. Pratipadikam that ends with a swara. So that is Ach Anta. Ach is swara and Anta. So Ach Anta becomes Ajanta by following some rule of grammar, which we will not get into now. But you need to study Ashtadhyayi if you want to understand Sanskrit texts. That is a given. Now, how that works, we will just look at by a few examples. Right? Yeah. So these are the sutras. These are not Ashtadhyayi sutras. Sutras given by some other rishis, but they tell you the pronunciation. So Apuha Visarjaniyanam Kantha, Ichu Yashanam Talu, Upapadmaniyanam Ushtav. So Upapadma, the swar U means pa varga, and Upadmaniya is it's a type of visarga. There are different types of visarga. So for that Ushtav, the lips are the pronunciation. Rutu, Rashana, Murda, like this. These are. So there are some varnas which engage two organs principally. So like A dai toho kantha talu. So A and I, they need kantha as well as talu. Odau toho kanthostam. They need kantha as well. Vakarasya danta ostam. Va needs danta. Without teeth and without lips you cannot pronounce it. So like that. Now so yeah, we have seen this. Yes. So this is just a table that gives you. So this is in English. Kantha, talu, murdha, danta, oshtav. So ka kha ga ga, and then this alpa karkasha murdu alpa prana mahaprana, unaspirated, aspirated, unaspirated, aspirated, nasal, anunasika. This is given in English. But this is what most probably inspired Mendeleev to formulate the periodic table. Okay, now we come to Ashtadhyayi and we'll see with some examples how it helps us to understand texts. So Ashtadhyayi is the first generative grammar in the modern sense of word. What do you mean by generative? So we are, I think, used to this term generative AI, generative AI algorithm. What does it mean? It means that it can generate a data. It can generate data pieces that are not present in its original training data set. That is what it means. So, and what it generates is supposed to make sense. It's supposed to be useful. So, in Sanskrit, so any language will have sentences that mean something. The sentences are composed of words are composed of alphabets, letters. In Sanskrit, sentences are called as vakya, sentence is called as vakyam, words are called as padas. Pad. One pad means one word. And the letters that constitute the pad are called as varnas. So, when I say generative, what it means is, in Sanskrit, if you follow the rules laid down by the Ashtadhyayi, if as I displayed, see, it doesn't make any sense, right? What does that mean? Vriddhi Radhe Chidem Guna. That is not Sanskrit. It uses the rules of Sanskrit, but it is not. Like if I show you a code that is written in Python or C or Fortran, it is not English. It uses English words, but it is not English. It's C or it's like that. Ashtadhyayi has its own language. It's a code, and what the algorithm tells you is how to generate words. So, as long as you follow, you have an idea in your mind. You don't know how to express it. You need words for that idea. Ashtadhyayi will give you the rules to generate that word. As long as you are following the rules, your word, even though no one has used it yet, its generated data is legitimate. It need not be recognized by any Webster's or Oxford dictionary. As long as you have followed the rules, it's a legitimate, correct word. So that's what generative means. So, for example, in language, any sentence, how does a sentence make sense? Any sentence has to have some action in it. Some action has to be done. Otherwise, you cannot generate a sentence. I am Neeraj. What action am I doing? I am doing the action of being Neeraj. Am. So, no sentence is possible without some action happening. So, every action will have a root. So, in Sanskrit, the root of action is called as a dhatu. So, there are many dhatus. So, for example, karoti. Saha bhojanam karoti. Karoti, does, comes from the dhatu kru. Like that. So, now you want to generate any word. There's a huge list of dhatus. There are basic dhatus. You can make derived dhatus from them by putting some pratyayas. After putting the pratyayas, they will transform. The rules of transformation are very clearly laid out. Then you put other pratyayas, you put other upasargas, and you generate your word. And that word, even though it has never been used before, is a legitimate word. So that's what generative means. And so a complete set of rules for combining morphemes, the smallest meaningful units of language, which I said dhatus, and then put prefixes and suffixes. Prefix in Sanskrit means upasarga, suffix means pratyaya, into grammatical sentences. Then the work provides comprehensive rules governing other aspects of Sanskrit language, such as phonological patterning of Sanskrit sounds. For example, how sounds change systematically as you slur them in speech. So that we will look at an example later on. Then it elaborates in the formation of compound words. So it's airplane. It composed of two words, air and plane. Headache, head and ache. So like this, I'm not sure if there are any rules of how words combine in English, but there are very, very clearly laid out rules regarding how words combine in Sanskrit. So if I want to say Rama is son of Dasharatha, in Sanskrit I can say Rama is Dasharatha Putra. Dasharatha Putra is one word, composed of two different words. But when Dasharatha and Putra combine, how they combine and how they transform has a very fixed rules. For example, he is a great king, Mahan Raja. So if you combine Mahan and Raja, it becomes Maharaja. So that Raja becomes Raja and Mahan becomes Maha. How does it become? Rules are very, very clear about. So the rules are almost mathematical. You want to derive a word, you take all the roots together, combine them, apply all the rules, go through the derivation, and you get a word. So Ashtadhyayi gives you all those mathematical rules of forming and combining words. Then one could use these rules to generate new words as well as novel expressions and sentences that we have already covered. So, yeah, what Panini did for Sanskrit, Mendeleev tried to do for chemistry. He tried to make sense of scattered data, putting them in a table, arranging it such that everything makes sense. Then you can predict which compound can which element can combine with which element, what compound can be formed, can be predicted if you know, if you study the periodic table well. So now we will look at how Ashtadhyayi. Yes.
Context free and generating are they same? People use this word context free grammar in the context of Panini. Is there a usage? I read somewhere.
A small example of how one uses Ashtadhyayi to understand text. Right now, how many of you have some exposure to Sanskrit? Okay, many of you. So when I say, "Hey Neeraj, balakah pustakam pathati," everyone understand what this means? It means someone is telling Neeraj, someone is telling me that some boy is reading a book. Balakah pustakam pathati. So now,
Hey is used for Sambodhan.
Hey is Sambodhan. So if you want to call out to someone, hey Ram, hey Neeraj. So and then if I want to say that boy does not read a book, very clear. I think everyone should be understand. Balaka pustakam na padhati. So now, if I say many people are reading a book, balakaha, it's plural. How to derive plural from this? Again, the rules are very, very well laid out. They are mathematical. Like I'm using this word repeatedly. It's balakaha pustakam na pathanti. So pathati becomes pathanti. In English and Marathi it will happen, right? In Hindi also, padhta hai, padhte hai. So pathanti. So similarly, if someone says, "Hey Dhananjay, karmani yoga sanyasta karmanam na nibadhanti." Easy to understand. If you use this context here, what would it mean? Can someone say what does this mean? If you have read it, fine. I would like someone who has not read this before to tell me what sense it makes. So nibadhanti means bandhana, to tie. Na nibadhanti means they don't tie, they don't bind. And karmani means karmas, it's plural. So there is someone whom the karma don't bind. There is someone called as yoga sanyasta karma. We will not get into what. This is, by the way, a compound word, like headache, airplane. So yoga, sanyasta and karma. The three words are combined. Then similarly, karmani, jnana sanchinna samshayam na nibadhanti. Makes sense. There is someone by this name and to him the karmas don't bind. Easy to make sense if you know basic Sanskrit sentences. It's not very difficult to make sense out of this. Karmani atmavantam na nibadhanti. Again, there is someone called as Atmavat. So now, see, typically in speech we don't need to repeat these things, right? See, I eat fruits, I eat fruits, I eat vegetables, I eat something else. So I probably don't need to see eat again. I say I eat fruits, vegetables and something else. Similarly, you don't probably need to repeat you can say karmani na nibadhanti, jnana sanchinna na nibadhanti. You may also not require to repeat this. You can say karmani yoga sanyasta karananam jnana sanchinna samshayam atmavantam na nibadhanti. Fine. You can do that. It's normal speech, we do that. So if you can take those out. Right? And whatever is left, if you just rearrange it, see, it's actually a shloka from the Bhagavad Gita. Yoga sanyasta karmanam jnana sanchinna samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibadhanti dhananjaya. So now, what we did is, we have engineered the shloka. But when you are reading the shloka, you have to reverse engineer it. You have to go from here to here. Right? So for that, you will have to identify what is the action. The action is binding. Who is doing the action? Karma are doing the action. On whom is the action being performed? It is being performed on these things. Once you identify this, you will be able to so if you are looking at this, you will have to first identify, okay, this is the action, who is doing it and who is it done on, and someone is telling Dhananjay because Dhananjay is in. So this, figuring this out, I give you a small example. This is the process that one would follow while reading Sanskrit text. How will you, what is the action, who is the doer? Very detailed rules are given in the Ashtadhyayi, and it can be easily figured out actually, it's not that difficult. And then you will have to rearrange the word and you will know what this shloka means.
So there are those three things which are to be done. So we need to add that cha word as well, right? Cha means and. Three things. Yog, sannyas, karman.
Yeah. And will be added if these three people are three different people. Okay. Actually only one person, different adjectives are there for one person. How would you know these are the adjectives and not the... Again, you have to... Some detailed study will be required.
So it is typically converted into the sloka from paragraph again.
So this is a shloka which is jamba. So again, see, Sanskrit, unlike English or Marathi or Hindi, is a little bit cryptic. When you read shlokas, they are when you read something in English, even if you read a poem in English, one reason is of course because most of us have spent many years reading English and talking English, speaking English or any other language, Marathi, Hindi. We have spent many years speaking that language, reading that language, hence there is a familiarity. Over and above that, Sanskrit is a little bit cryptic. Words, they come together and they are not in the order in which you would be able to understand them. So some brain work is required to decipher whatever is written in Sanskrit. Right, so now we will look at some other examples of how words combine. See, this was a little bit easier because these words are separate words. You don't need to split this word here. But sometimes in Sanskrit what happens is words get combined. Padas combine, and before you understand the shloka you have to split them. That is one of the major things that you need to do. That is called a sandhi splitting, sandhi vichcheda. So, for example here, LIC, it says Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. Now here, you have to do a little more work in the sense that this Vahamyaham, Vahamyaham, I have split this mya in ma, ya and o. You have to split it. This ya has to be replaced by e. And then you again combine it. So it becomes Yogakshemam Vahami Aham. And that aham has to be taken there. So aham Yogakshemam Vahami. Now it is like Dalagha Pustakam Pathati. Aham Yogakshemam. And you will have to go to if you don't know what is Yogakshema, you can go to the dictionary and figure it out. But basically aham yoga. Vahami means I carry. I carry. So this is Sri Krishna's sentence. I carry. Yogakshemam means, so yoga means something you desire, you get, and kshema means once you get it, it stays with you. So basically Sri Krishna is saying, I'll take care of it. Aham yoga kshema. For you, I'll take care. Aham. Now, what happened here? Yoga kshema, it was like this, then E became ya. Now, how do you figure this out? So, let me go back to the now it was mo and now this became E. See, so ya, what is the the Uchcharan sthan for ya is talu, for E is also talu. So you can only replace words that have the same Uchcharan sthan, you cannot replace randomly. So that is, so then again that Uchcharan sthan is important. And then how will, because there are so many varnas, how will Maharishi Panini explain this in the Ashtadhyayi? He will say that so in Ashtadhyayi there is a sutra, 6.177, 6th chapter, 1st pada 77. It says Iko Yanachi. So this is basically Ika Yanachi. How this Iko becomes Ika, again some detailed study will be required. But it says if Ik is followed by Ach, then you replace it with Yan. Ik, if you go to the Maheshwara Sutras, Ik is I, U, Ru, Ru. Any of these, if followed by Ach, means all the swaras. Ik will become Yan, means if it is I, it will become Ya. U become Va, Ru become La, Ru become La. Why? Because I and Ya have Talu, same Uchcharan Sthan. U and Va have Vakarasya Dantoshtam, Upupadmanyana Morto. Both use lips, it will replace. Ritu Rashana Murta, both have. So if this, any of these is followed by any of these, it becomes this. Now, this is called a Swara Sandhi. Swara Sandhi means when both the varnas combining are swaras. So there are how many swaras? There are 13 swaras. So 13 combining means 13, how many possibilities are there? 169 possibilities. There are 6 sutras in Ashtadhyayi which tells you, which cover all the swara sandhis. If this combines with this, you do this. If that combines with this, you do this. So 6 sutras cover 169 possibilities. So in my opinion, memorizing 169 combinations, better than that, memorize 6 sutras. So this is how it needs to be figured out. Then one more example. Here, see this, most of you might know what this is. This is the royal seal, the Raj Mudra of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Here it says Pratipat Chandra Lekheva Vardhishnur Vishwavanita Shah Suno Shivasyesha Mudra Bhadra Raj. We have to make sense out of this. So we'll have to first, now unlike the previous shloka, Yoga Sannyasta Karmanam Jnana, there are combined words here. So we will have to split them up. Again, where to split them up, how to split them up, a more detailed study is required. It is not that difficult, but some effort is required. So you will have to split it up like this. Pratipat Chandra Lekheva becomes this Kh, A and V. Kheva, Kh, A and V. Now, A is actually, A has been now replaced by A and E. And now we will have to just combine this. This Kh and A become Kha and E remains like this. Lekha, Iva. Pratipat Chandra Lekha, Iva. Pratipat Chandra is the Chandra of the first day of the new moon. And Lekha is the crescent outline of that moon. So, Pratipat Chandra Lekha Iva means this is again a combined word. Pratipat Chandra and Lekha. Pratipat Chandra Lekha Iva means like the outline of the crescent moon. But you had to do this to figure that out. Pratipat Chandra, then again here. Shivasyaisha. So this is Shivasyaisha, I and Sha. That I has to be changed to A and A. And then you again combine it, so it becomes this Shivasya. So Shivasya and Esha. It combines like this. So Shivasya Esha. And now you'll have to do some more work. We'll not go through the details of that. But this Vardhishnur Vishwavandita becomes Vardhishnu Vishwavandita. And then you will have to, that Esha has to be taken here and a word Mudra has to be added here. So then now, Pratipat Chandra Lekha Iva Vardhishnu Vishwavandita Mudra. Are you able to make sense of this? Pratipat, so it's like the crescent outline of the moon. Iva Vardhishnu is growing. Vishwavandita means the whole world goes down to Mudra. So this is the Mudra to which the whole world goes down to, and it's growing like this. Growing like this means the kingdom is growing like that. Esha Shaha Sunoho Shivasya Mudra Bhadraya Rajate. Now here, what is the action being done? Rajate, ruling. Esha means this. This mudra. Who is this mudra? Shivasya mudra. Shivaji Maharaj's mudra. Who is Shiva? Shaha Sunu. Shahaji was his father. Sunu means son. So this is Shahaji's son. Shiva's mudra. Rajate. Bhadraya. Bhadra means prosperity, progress. So it rules for progress and prosperity. So again, Bhadra is a word, it becomes Bhadraya. What does Bhadraya mean? There is a derivation for it, there is a meaning for it, why it is Bhadraya and why not something else. So each and every word is derived mathematically, what it means, the meanings are very well set, and if you know all those rules, it's easy to figure out any text. Yes. Correct. So one of the specialities of Sanskrit is you say what you write. There are no silent words. There are no, whatever is said whatever is written has to be pronounced as it is. There are no silent words. There is no modification. Nothing. But whatever is to be written has to be correct to the dot. There are very meticulous rules, and those have to be followed. So now, what did we replace? We replaced here. If I go back. O and A. O and A became I. What was the reason? O is Kantha. A is Kantha-talu. So Kantha and Kantha-talu. So I is also Kantha-talu. So O and A has to be replaced by I. There is so like Iko Yanachi, that sutra was there. For this, the sutra is Vriddhi Reichi. That is called as another Sandhi sutra. Right? Yes.
We can take practical, for example, it sounds like ear.
Huh. Some like, so Yogakshemam Vahami Aham. If I say Yogakshemam Vahami and if I pronounce it fast, ear, it sounds like ear. That is true in some cases. Typically in Swara Sandhis. Once you get into Vyanjana Varnas, Hal Sandhis, that becomes very difficult. Visarga Sandhis become even more difficult. So that doesn't always work. There are rules which need to be followed. Just to explain how, so when you speak and you speak slurs by combining two words, typically with minimum effort what has to be pronounced, that is how the rules are formed. So basically these rules are formed such that they encompass maximum data in minimum words. And they also take care that whatever you are writing, whatever you are pronouncing, whatever you are saying requires minimum energy. So now you imagine the genius that went into composing the Ashtadhyayi. Language changes over time. Language changes. The way we speak now, whatever language, English, Hindi, Marathi, we did not speak the same language 50 years ago. We did not speak the same language 100 years ago, 500 years ago. Now, language changes with geography. We don't speak the same Hindi that we speak in Haryana as we speak in UP, as we speak in Bihar. Now, the rules of the language that were followed in the entire Indian subcontinent with a huge variation with geography. That language that was spoken and used over a period of thousands of years, huge variation in time. All the rules have been presented in just 4,000 sutras. This is, I don't know how one person managed to do it. Maybe not one person. So this is really fantastic, worth studying, worth learning. So this is just a list of papers and books that I used to put this presentation together. So This is the Mendeleev's paper. There is an English translation available. Original paper was in Russian, and there are some other papers, books, and articles that were published, which I used to put this presentation together. But now, as I said, see, now I think everyone has some idea of what Ashtadhyayi is, what it intends to do, or how it can be used. Now, Ashtadhyayi has, yes sir.
Have you found any contradictions in the rules?
Yes. The rules given in Ashtadhyayi, there are some characteristics. Most of them are perfect. Some of them have contradictions. Some of the contradictions are not there within the Ashtadhyayi, but some of them are, let us say, redundant. They need not be there. Some of them are incomplete. Not all information is there. Some of them they just say that there is no rule, we use this, we prefer this usage because it has come through tradition. So these things are there. Ashtadhyayi in itself is, I would say, almost complete, but there are some loose ends which can be closed by using the works of some other rishi, like Vararichi. There is a book, a work called Vartik. It can be used. There is Maharshi Patanjali has written a commentary on the Ashtadhyayi, Mahabhashya. So that closes some loose ends. But yes, I think to answer your question, is it completely 100% perfect? No. But still, it's way more than an ordinary person can fathom. Ashtadhyayi, yes.
So you can use Ashtadhyayi sutras to decipher Sanskrit, right? But how do you decipher the sutras?
Yes. Good question. So this is a chicken and egg problem, because they are not written in Sanskrit. They are written in a language which Maharshi Panini developed on his own. It is his own language. How can we understand them? He taught them to his students. They taught them to their students. They taught them, and someone taught it to me. So it came down.
So the description is available.
Available.
In text.
Yes. Yeah. There is a sound logic behind it. You understand a few sutras, the rest of them you can interpret on your own. There is a logic. So it's like one C program if you understand, and if it has all the same state, another program doing some solving some completely other problem, but has the same commands, same keywords, you'll be able to figure out what the problem is. It's like that.
Just a code, so is it applicable?
It's a code. Yeah.
So is it applicable to, has that been formed apart from Sanskrit, whether it's applicable or other languages?
In some sense, yes. In some sense, yes. But the languages that I know, I know a little bit of Sanskrit and English, Hindi, Marathi. The languages that I know on these other languages don't have so perfect rules to generate words. They don't work in the generative algorithm sense. French, German, foreign languages, I don't know, so maybe they do, but at least English, Hindi, Marathi don't do.
You can communicate. So German follows similar like Sanskrit.
Okay.
So they have words attaching with each one by one, and then you can make the largest word up once.
Oh.
Word up something like 100 or 120 letters.
Okay.
And they have the same dhatu.
Okay. So German maybe is another language which follows the same pattern. Possible. I don't know
and
German.
whatever they write, they pronunciate the way. Not like
It works the
French
same.
or English.
Oh, fine. So German maybe has a similar structure. Now, Ashtadhyayi has less than 4,000 sutras. Learning and understanding all the 4,000 sutras in a few days is it's not feasible. It's impractical. Can't do it. Traditionally, how it is taught is you first have to memorize all of them. Then there are discussions which help you decipher them. Now, that is. If we are to learn it that way, I don't think with the kind of lives we are living, we are busy with many other things, not possible. But when I learned it, the teacher who taught that to me, he figured out that out of those 4,000 sutras, about 200 sutras are such that if you know them, you can decipher 95% of all the known Sanskrit literature. 95% of the sutras, 200 or 4,000, are required to figure out 90% of the written work. And if you learn 200 and figure out the logic behind them, you can yourself figure out the other sutras. and with all the online tools available now, where you can quickly search dictionaries, quickly figure out, it becomes even easier. Now I can't imagine how people were doing it when internet and computers were not there, but now it has become easier. So someone who wants to learn has to learn 200 sutras, figure out how to use them. It's possible to virtually read any Sanskrit text independently. Now another issue with Ashtadhyayi is that it's non-linear. Non-linear in the sense that it doesn't teach you the sutras like you conventionally learn. You learn something in first standard, and you go to second standard. Everything that you learn in first standard, the second standard builds on it. So you are qualified to go into this. But in Ashtadhyayi Sutras, it's not like that. If you read the first pada of the first Adhyaya, the second, you will understand the second part. It's not like that. To understand some sutra in 7th Adhyaya, you need to understand some sutra in, let us say, first Adhyaya, you need something in the 6th Adhyaya. To understand that, you need something in the 3rd Adhyaya. To understand, so it's highly non-linear. Why is it non-linear? I have come to the conclusion after reading, studying, is that is the most efficient way to concisely pack information. Yeah, kind of programming. So it has a lot of programming logic also. So for example, there is a sutra like Visarjaniyasya Saha, it says. If there is a Visarja, it becomes Sa. So to give you an example, Visarjaniyasya, can you think of? So like in Bhagavad Gita, there is a slok, Tayostu karma sannyasa. So Tayostu, it is Tayohotu. There is a Visarga and it becomes Sa. So it says Visarjaniyasya Saha. There is another sutra which says Kharvasanayor Visarjaniya. That means if there is a Khar, Sa comes in Khar. Sa becomes Visarja, Visarga becomes Sa. Then what happens is, those two sutras you keep on applying, you get stuck in an infinite loop. Visarga becomes Sa, Sa becomes Visarga. Now, in programming, what do we do when we want to break out of an infinite loop? We use some exit condition. So there is an exit condition there. It is called as Asiddha Sutras. So there are a lot of programming logic is there in Ashtadhyayi. If you get stuck in an infinite loop, how do you get out of it? If you get into a problem of combinations, the multiple combinations possible, which one do you use? There are rules for it. So it's very, very systematic. And to have everything in 4,000 sutras covering rules of language spanning thousands of years in time, huge area in geography is something which is really phenomenal. And now then the person who wants to learn, the job is to learn 200 sutras out of 4,000 ones. And just to practice a little bit to apply them, then one is in a position to do so. How can this be done? So we recently we have and then I said this is non-linear, but those 200 sutras, take them out of Ashtadhyayi, arrange them in an order such that it is linear and they can be understood, and then they can be studied. So this has been done by formulating a course. So the teacher, Dr. Sridhar, who taught me, he has developed that course. So I took the course and then we completed one trial run of that course recently. Some people learned it. And there is a plan to start a second batch of the course. So people who are interested in learning, we can do that. We take about 80 to 100 hours to go through it completely, where one will be in a position of, with some dedicated effort and time, will be in a position to independently read and study Sanskrit text. So I would actually like, there are people here who have done the study. I would just like them to just say about their experience, just so that people feel encouraged to learn. Yeah.
So I'll speak. So, the first course which was offered by CSU, so Central Sanskrit University offers the introductory course. So after finishing the Ashtadhyayi course, and I think that the course is very good and he is a very patient teacher. So at the end of it, I think we could learn it. The other thing is, once you get to it, it has to be a consistent practice. It does not end with the course, so you have to keep reading text, so which we still keep on doing.
Can join that also. Details can be given. Those who want details can be given. The course, I think, one new batch will be starting soon. It may have already started, will be starting sometime this month.
Where is Sanjay?
He is in Bangalore.
किन्तु तत्र आप्शन् द्वयमस्ति एकं तु तत्र प्रत्यक्षं गत्वा विंशतिदिनस्य
तत्र डिसेम्बर् मासे तदपि कर्तुं शक्नोति.
विंशतिदिनानन्तरम् अष्टाध्यायी
विंशतिदिनस्य कोर्स् अतिशयं पवर् पैक्ड् अस्ति, ओवर्लोडेड्. पुनरागत्य तत्र
सम्यक् ऑनलाइन अपि अस्ति.
अजय जी, ये संस्कृत भाषा जो पढ़ना है या समझना है या जो जानना है वो तो ठीक है, आई मीन समझ में आ रहा है क्योंकि हमारे ग्रंथ और ज्ञान सब है इसमें. बट कुछ आप बताएंगे क्या कि ये हाउ इट कैन हेल्प द साइंटिफिक कम्युनिटी इफ दे आर लर्निंग और मे बी हाउ इट कैन बी बेनिफिटेड टू देम?
So scientific community in the sense there are a lot of scientific Sanskrit texts also. So actually संस्कृत टेक्स्ट जितना मैं जानता हूँ 90% और more than 90% of the Sanskrit texts are based on science, engineering, medicine. It's 5 to 10% texts which are based on spirituality, self-enlightenment and all. So ऐसा है. अब उसके लिए लेकिन संस्कृत आनी चाहिए वो पढ़ने में. अच्छा, I am not aware of this.
Oh, Sanskrit.
Yeah, so there are the Sanskrit grammar texts, many of them are there. Ashtadhyayi, Mahabhashyam, Siddhanta Kaumudi, Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi, Vartika, many are there. Panini, Ashtadhyayi is the one who has stood the test of time through geography and through time. There are many other books brilliantly written. Era, after a certain era, particularly in the medieval and modern ages, we don't have any such profound text being developed. That is because there are now that language itself is very few people know that language. Three shloka, the 2-line shloka will have 32 varnas. So it has to be 32. So then you have to, if there are, you have to combine those words to make it 30.
ये वाला नहीं दशारिदम केवलम कर्म कुर्वन् न आपनोति.
हाँ, कुर्वन् न आपनोति किल्बिषं. तो कुर्वन् न आपनोति नहीं, यहाँ पे नहीं, कुर्वन् न आपनोति वहाँ पर नहीं है. नहीं, तो ये वो अचनन गच्छन स्वपन श्वसन वहाँ पर है. जिग्रन अचनन. So the जिग्रन and अचनन there is a double line there. These are some technical. These can. Those who are interested, we can take.
Maybe we can have last question, right?
Yeah, we are time.
Last question, Madhura ji.
Like any other language, Sanskrit is also evolving. So it is having a scope of introducing new words according to the new text. Suppose some subject is written.
IIT Bombay that is primarily focused on spoken Sanskrit. So it is, and parallel to that, interested students out of that are also learning the Ashtadhyayi with Neeraj. So that's the way they're doing right now.
One run is over. There is a plan to start a second batch if we have enough interested number of people.
So if there are interested students here for this Ashtadhyayi course, one of them is myself. That is what I decided today after this class. So I've been thinking of it quite some time, but today I realized I have to learn it. And 200 sutras I think I can do. 4,000 sunte hi mein aate hain. 200 I think I can manage here.
So is there any book as well for those 200 sutras specifically?
The course has a proper textbook.
Sir, उसको भी थोड़ा लिमिट कर दिया. When out of those 200 you can focus on 20 or 40.
So what you said now?
Yeah, it is Panini, man. I cannot dictate Panini.
And for Chandra Mohan is there in this class here. So he is a Shikshak from Central Sanskrit University. So we are conducting a Sarala Sanskritam class, L1 and L2 levels in the IIT. Know about the Center for Sanskrit Learning in IIT Bombay? Please raise your hands. Okay, yeah. So
You guys managed to do good publicity.
Huh?
You guys managed to reach out to.
not so bad actually, but still there are people. So it is a center in IIT Bombay. There are classes post normal regular class timings on working days, wherein for 2 hours you come per week. There is a standard course material for that. The class is free, but if you want to write an exam and get the course material, it's 1,500 rupees. But otherwise, if you don't want to do all that, just attend the class, you can do that. But यदि वयं सर्वे तद् कुर्मः चेत् अस्माकं मुखात् संस्कृतम् आगच्छति. संस्कृतेन वयं वक्तुं शक्नुमः. एतादृशं कवितां श्लोकं सर्वं वयं न लेखितुं शक्नुमः, किन्तु मुखात् संस्कृतम् आगच्छन्ति एव संस्कृतेन सम्भाषणं कर्तुं शक्नुमः एव तदेव इदस्य कक्षायाः यदि उपयोगः यदि वयं चिन्तयामः चेत् अतः सर्वे एतस्य कोर्स् कृते पञ्जीकरणं कुर्वन्तु इति अपि अहं प्रार्थयामि धन्यवादः
तस्याः अपि भाषायाः ज्ञानं सम्भाषणात् अपि आरभते. First you learn to speak the language, then only you can read and then understand the grammar. That is how we learn other languages. We learn to speak them first as children, then we learn the grammar later. That's the natural way of learning language.
तो इसको हम एक कसम ध्वनि के साथ समाप्त कर देते हैं.
रुक सकते हैं. इससे पहले कि एंड करें, मैं एक चीज़ और पॉइंट करना चाहूँगा. जैसे अभी सर